This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
What is up, Chiefs Kingdom? Welcome into today's episode of KCS Update, a special edition of KCS Update, as I am joined by Sterling Holmes. You can find him pretty much everywhere, and I'm sure you guys are familiar with Sterling from his work at Sports Radio 810, also over at Arrowhead Addict. Sterling, how are you doing, sir? How has your football season been so far?
Dude, it's great. I love the no noon games for Kansas City because that means I get to golf Sunday mornings. It's been outstanding. Get to watch the Chiefs win and win money off of my friends. I mean, if you would play with me, I would love to win some money off you, but you like to ditch. But that's okay. Mm-hmm. Things are going well, man. Things are great over on my end.
Good. Love to hear it. I do love to ditch. That is my favorite thing to do. Get an adrenaline rush every time I tell Sterling I'm going to hang out with him, and then I just cancel on him. That's my favorite thing to do. Just last minute, just no heads up sometimes. I just don't show up. I like to ghost him every now and again. It's good. It's a good little adrenaline rush that we got going. It's a good little symbiotic relationship we got going. I think very good. But Sterling, I texted you this morning and I said, man, I've got to talk about this AFC West because we're recording this on Tuesday. You guys hopefully listening to it on Tuesday as well when this podcast comes out. But listen, there's some trouble going on in the AFC West. There is some big trouble when it comes to the other teams that were supposed to threaten the Kansas City Chiefs in terms of their division. The Chargers obviously lost to the Dallas Cowboys, a reeling Dallas Cowboys team on Monday Night Football. Sterling, first, I want to get your thoughts on that game. What were your thoughts on the Chargers pretty much charging that game away?
They're the same team. I always say the Vikings, Cowboys, and Chargers, just throw them on a hat. They're all the same team. Teams that typically make the playoffs, they have decent regular season records, a lot of offseason hype, and then what do? They collapse. And the Chargers proved that all in one game. They collapsed when the game was on the line. I love Justin Herbert. He's a top 5 talent in the NFL. But at some point, we have to have a serious conversation if he never gets over the hump. I saw Matt Verderam tweet him about what's his defining game in the NFL. It can't be week 3 victory over Kansas City, because if that is, you're not an elite quarterback. What is his defining game? He doesn't have one. And I get it. Staley's not a great head coach. It's not Andy Reid, right? He doesn't have the best team around him. But there's always talk in the offseason about how good the Chargers are. There's always talk about how this the year they finally make some noise. And at some point, Justin Herbert needs to bear more of the brunt of the weight of the consistent unraveling year after year. And I get it. It's not just been him. They've changed quarterbacks. They've changed head coaches. They've changed cities. They find ways to still Chargers. So maybe they're just cursed. But at some point, I have to sit here saying, you know what, Herbert? Time to actually do something and stop talking about potential.
You got to be at that point now, I think. I know a lot of conversations that we had. I think Sterling even brought this up with you at one point of like, how many excuses are you going to make for Justin Herbert? He blew a 29-point playoff lead, and it feels like no one was talking about it. I know that they had a lot of injuries on the defensive side of the ball. That does play into it. But if he scores like another touchdown, like they're fine. If they go and put a competent offensive drive together, they're fine. But he can't do it when the lights are bright. Justin Herbert can't seem to do it. And I think that is so obscure when you talk about all of the other great quarterbacks in the AFC. You're talking about Patrick Mahomes. You're talking about Josh Allen, Tua. They all get a fair share of blame when it comes to what goes wrong with their team. The fingers start pointing at them. With Herbert, it never seems to be that way. I don't know if it's because of the injuries around him always, like literally always there's injuries around the Los Angeles Chargers. I don't know if that's why, but I'm just very confused why people keep making excuses for this guy who hasn't really necessarily done anything yet.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. Andy Reid, obviously Josh Allen had Brian Daboll, but let's be real now. Zach Taylor's he just incredible head coach for the Bengals. But Joe Burrow has his defining victories. Josh Allen, for all the bleep he gets, I've always been a pretty big Josh Allen supporter. I loved him coming out of Wyoming. Obviously, seeing him play against Mizzou, that was different. I like Josh Allen. Always been a big Josh Allen supporter. But let's be real. He's had a couple of defining victories in his career, right? Even the 13-second loss, we like to laugh. He was electric in that game. Jalen Hurts obviously has some defining victories. Hell, Trevor Lawrence, to an extent, you could say, has a defining victory. That was over the Chargers. Herbert, again, you're right. I mean, he's got to get it done. There's always excuses. Every single team makes excuses, but typically what happens is the quarterback is the one that bears the weight, and somehow he's the only quarterback that seemingly goes by unscathed. Dak Prescott, as much as it's fun to rip on Dak and Kirk Cousins, they bear the weight more than anyone.
Yeah.
You know, the Cowboys have perpetually been run, in my opinion, ridiculously with Jerry Jones, right? I mean, I think it's pretty alarming how he's trying to win how they did in the 1990s by running the rock. But still, Dak's the guy that takes all the blame. Where's that with Justin?
Yeah. It's been a very interesting conversation, obviously, as everyone listening to this podcast knows that the Chargers have been crowned the AFC West champions for the past 6 years in July. And again, it's the same trope over and over, it seems like, with the Chargers losing out. I think the Chiefs are now 2.5 up on the Chargers when it comes to it, with the Chargers coming to town in the AFC West race. Can essentially put away the AFC West with a big win over the Chargers. And this game, I think, means a lot more to the Chargers now than it does for the whole grand scheme of things for their season. Not necessarily just the AFC West race, but for their season to stay alive in terms of playoff hopes and everything like that. Sterling, how do you see that kind of shaking out? As, you know, the Chargers have played the Chiefs pretty tough. They're going to come to Kansas City. They've played the Chiefs tough in Kansas City. How do you kind of see this matchup shaking out? The Chiefs are keenly aware of what the stakes of this matchup are, and to really keep their foot on the gas when it comes to the AFC West. But I want to get your thoughts on that.
Yeah, so first and foremost, Justin Herbert only plays well against Kansas City. They only ever unleash Herbert. Every other game, it's check down Charlie, and then against Kansas City, like, oh yeah, we forgot he's actually talented. Just throw the rock deep downfield. Only difference is this year's iteration of Kansas City has the best secondary they've had in the Mahomes era. I legitimately think they're good. I don't care that they face, Justin Fields and Zach Wilson. I get all that. Mm-hmm. This Chiefs defense, in my opinion, is electric, and that defense, and especially the secondary, is extremely, extremely talented, okay? DJ Moore has been going off at times this season. He did not go off against Kansas City. Take Fields or the quarterback out of the equation. They were on him, okay? He had zero separation, so that's legitimate to me. I think it's a little nerve-wracking with you have a guy like Brandon Staley who understands if they don't do something this year, if they don't at least go to the playoffs, and even if they might have to win a game, he's probably getting canned.
Right.
You have a head coach who's basically saying, you know what, bleep it. We have to beat Kansas City. I've already been aggressive in the past. I'm going to be uber aggressive in this game. We lost to the Cowboys. We have to get right. So expect Brandon Staley to, and even, to an extent, Kellen Moore, have one of the best game plans they could possibly have, because they absolutely have to have it. They will do everything possible to come away. Onside kick, fake punt, 4th and 3 on their own 45. They might go for it. I get they have no Mike Williams, but Joshua Palmer is a pretty good wide receiver too in his own right. Eckler should be healthier, right? Kind of nursing his injury, but he was getting back. And obviously Keenan Allen going into this game prior to it was averaging 109 yards per game. Keenan Allen's been outstanding. The issue lies in the Chargers defense as well. They held, obviously, the Cowboys 20 points, but the Cowboys offense is nothing to write home about. But the Chiefs, on the other hand, they've struggled to score a lot of points this year outside of one game against Chicago. I'm very intrigued about this game. Again, some of the things that make me nervous don't make me nervous long-term, but make me nervous in a nutshell of, all right, head coach might get canned. What's he going to come up with?
Right. This is a backs against the wall game for them. And in terms of the Chargers, but looking at the AFC West standings, Chiefs obviously atop of that. Chiefs are atop of the AFC with a 5-1 record. Second place is the the Las Vegas Raiders, with a 3-3 record. Who would have thought 6 weeks into the season?
All expected that.
That the Raiders, who we said were trying to lose on purpose by keeping a coach that they said, hey, we don't want this guy, but we don't have enough money to pay him to leave, are 3-3, and they're second place in the AFC West, just ahead of the Chargers, who are 2-3, and the Denver Broncos, who 1-5. They're bad. They're not.
I think they didn't give up a draft pick for a head coach who's 2 scoops of ass. No chance. No chance the team would have done that. No.
Right. I mean, they just don't have any future assets, anything that a lot of bad teams look forward to. The Broncos don't have that. So that's a really great sign to see. If you are in Denver or necessarily.
You want a positive?
Let's see.
They can get out of Russell Wilson's contract for about $32 million dead cap it in 2026.
That's a positive. Maybe get Caleb Williams. Well, no, can't draft Caleb Williams.
Drake May? No, probably not.
Can't get him.
Hey, Brady Cook?
Maybe Brady Cook. Listen, it went so well for them the first time they drafted him as a new quarterback. Might as well draft another one.
Give him a chance. I will die on the hill. Drew Lock.
I'm with you.
He would have been better than Russell Wilson and cheaper.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, he would have been better than Russell. That year, he was slated to be the starter before Geno Smith beat him out. To be fair, he got COVID. Drew Lock got COVID and then gave Geno Smith the chance to play, and then he was actually good, which probably Geno Smith would have played eventually. But what I think is interesting, Sterling, when I look at these AFC West standings, the Raiders are in second place, as I mentioned, but their net points is minus 31. So they have been outscored by 31 points by the opposing team, but they are in second place in the AFC West. Sterling, I want to get your thoughts on the division, because it seems like every year that, we talked about the Chargers being hyped up, but even last year, a lot of the teams were hyped up, like the Broncos, and I think the Broncos had a lot of hype going into this season as well, and it all just seems to fall flat. So overall, have you been surprised by the division based on kind of the hype coming into the season and what we kind of already know about the past when it comes to people picking the division?
Yeah, I mean, people are tired of seeing the same team win over and over again. We saw with the Patriots, right? You always wanted someone else. We know full well here in Kansas City, we were tired of the Patriots winning. Well, now everyone else is tired of the Chiefs winning. Yeah. So they're going to try and find ways to pick and choose and find a way to talk themselves into any other team, especially in the division. I didn't think it was going to be this bad. I didn't think the AFC West was particularly strong this year. I think I had the Broncos. I think I had their upside at 9 wins. I was not really thrilled with the Sean Payton debacle. A little bit worse than I thought, but I didn't think it was going to be some easy fix. Like, he had a Hall of Fame quarterback his entire career and got 1 championship. He got 1 Super Bowl out of it. At some point, you're closer to Mike McCarthy than you are to Bill Belichick. So Broncos fans needed to calm down. And they're the offseason champions 2 years in a row, and yet Sean Payton kept trying to say the Jets were. Well, congratulations. The Jets have a better record than you. Also, you got a 31 spot put in your dome by Zach Wilson. Congratulations, Sean Payton. Good job. Also, beat out by a ball boy. Former Bronco ball boy, Mike McDaniel.
70.
And you know what? It was a generous 70 because they could have scored way more. And I thought it was actually more disrespectful to say, you know what? No, we're not going to kick the field goal. We're going to let you know we could, but we're not. We're not going to do it to you. Yeah, so that's pretty good. So the Broncos are there. They have no hope for the future, at least for the next couple of seasons. I just don't see where they go from here. As far as the Raiders go, they're a little better than I expected. Jimmy G's actually been banged up a lot this year, which guess what? What's new? That's perpetually every single season. Devontae Adams, still Devontae Adams, but they're using him a little bit as a decoy, right? They've started to get, is it Mayer involved in tight end?
Yeah, Michael Mayer.
Jacoby Myers is actually having a really nice year as the season's progressed. He's starting to find a nice connection. We might be seeing a little bit more Aiden O'Connell. Max Crosby, still Max Crosby. End of the day, he should be thrown into the Defensive Player of the Year candidate because he is that good. I love watching him play. I really wish he was a Kansas City Chief because I would root for him so hard. But now I have to find my way to say, hey, he's a dirty player. If he was on Kansas City again, that's a hard-nosed guy. But I mean, there's not a lot of talent on that team, and they're kind of piecemeal together. So this one feels like the height of the Raiders because the best players I'm naming right now outside of Michael Mayer, they're old guys. Jacoby Myers, Devontae Adams, Jimmy G. I mean, Max Crosby's there, but he's not like the youngest cat in the room. It's kind of interesting. And then, again, the Chargers, they are just perpetually chargering. I don't know where they go from here. Mike Williams injured. Keenan Allen's still great, but he's getting up there in age. Derwin James getting up there in age. This was their year. They were supposed to be good yet again, but eventually you're going to have to blow that thing up. You got to stop going with perpetually older, injured, veteran guys and say, all right, we got to get younger. We got to get cheaper. We got to figure out something different because this clearly is not working.
It's going to be really interesting to see the response, especially maybe even early on to the Chiefs having such a commanding lead after not really necessarily playing all that well. And really don't know if there's been a whole lot of good football being played across the board. I think it's kind of a league-wide trend of everybody playing weird games, as Joshua Briscoe would like to call them. So, Sterling, let's take a break. I've got more I want to talk about when it comes to the other teams in the AFC West, but we got to take a break first. We'll be right back after this.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
Hanging out with Sterling Holmes here on KCS An Update. Sterling, I saw that you did an interview with your guy, Amon-Ra St. Brown, the other day for the Stacking the Box podcast. Yeah. How's he doing?
He's awesome, dude. I'm a big fan of Amon-Ra. Dude is just a good guy. He's so smart. He speaks 3 languages, so I spoke a little German to him, and he was liking that. I got a little chuckle, a little smile from him. But yeah, he's doing well, and I just talked to him. I'm like, hey man, you came into Arrowhead, started the NFL season. The Detroit Lions, we're talking about how they've been good for a long time, and just the mindset shift. He talked about Dan Campbell a little bit as well. And one of my favorite things I asked him was about the combine. Because I say people get so enamored with fast 40s, and quite frankly, they did work for Kansas City when they had, Tyreek and McCall. They had the 4-3 bunch, everyone was so quick. It worked for them. But it wasn't Darius Hayward-Bay. It wasn't John Brown or John Ross. They found ways to make these dudes work. And so I asked him, because Amon-Ra ran a 4.59 for a wide receiver. It's slow, right? Man, that's slow. But I'm like, you've been so productive. How? And he's like, I could take a look at a guy right now and tell you that guy can or cannot play. I get your job. The media is to, you get enamored with the speed and the gaudy numbers. It doesn't really translate. It doesn't always translate. And so I just thought it was pretty interesting hearing a player's perspective in that instance. But yeah, Amon-Ra St. Brown looking pretty good. My bet versus your bet of Calvin Ridley. It's going to come down to the wire because he missed a game.
It will come down to the wire. Right now, Amon-Ra's leading. I think it's 455 to Calvin Ridley's 363. Calvin was leading by, I think, 3 yards because of that missed game just before this last week took place. But it's a good little wager, a good little friendly wager that we've got down on those two guys.
Yeah, for those that don't know, before the season started, Tucker and myself, I picked Amon-Ra St. Brown. He went Calvin Ridley, whoever's the most yards. I have my bets for 2023 written down. I have with people. It's my season-long bets, yeah. Keep it out of the old laptop. Keep it safe. We got a dinner on this one, it looks like. I have horrendous handwriting, so it looks like
steak dinner.
Yeah, steak dinner.
Mm-hmm. We didn't go with any traditional money switching hands. I think a steak dinner would be nice.
Yeah, I got a couple dinners on here, a couple bourbons. Got a nice whistle pig bet out there, a mustache bet. I got a soul patch bet as well. Yeah, which I don't think anyone wants to see that one.
Soul patch, things stay in the early 2000s. But Sterling, I was looking ahead at the schedule for the second place Las Vegas Raiders. They play the Bears this week. Actually, never mind. They're on a bye week. This is October 22nd that they play the Raiders. Or they play the Bears, then they have the Lions, and then they have the Giants, and then the Jets, and then the Dolphins. Those are their next 5 games. Pretty winnable games for the Raiders in the grand scheme of things. Obviously, the Chiefs will have the Broncos again. They'll have the Dolphins. They'll have their bye week to kind of go from there. But and then the Chargers also have already had their bye week, so I wonder how much that'll play into things down the stretch. They had a very early, I think it was a week 4 bye week 5 bye week, possibly. I can't remember off the top of my head, but had an early bye week for the Chargers. Now on a short week going to Kansas City. Awful scheduling, by the way. I have said this for a long time, even when the schedule came out. For the Chiefs to go to Broncos, Chargers, Broncos was awful. Like just scheduling those teams three in a row, bad scheduling. But then to have the Chargers be on Monday Night Football the week prior, then travel to Kansas City is also equally as bad. To have the team on a short week travel, I don't know what the schedule makers were thinking. It's like that they ran out of time and just had to throw games together in this little stretch here.
Yeah, then you have, of course, Jacksonville staying in London for like a month. Yeah, it's like
right. And stay over there. Yeah.
It's very interesting. But you brought up the Raiders' schedule. I mean, they go 3-2. They're not going to be, in my opinion, but you don't know. We didn't think the Jets were going to be the Eagles. We didn't think the Browns with the backup quarterback were going to be the 49ers. Right. And by the way, 49ers fans, call them your brakes or pump the brakes. I get it. Trent Williams got injured in the game. CMC got injured. And Debo got injured. They were without their starting quarterback. No excuses. Come on now. But yeah, dude, the Jets, the Giants, the Bears. I mean, those are 3 winnable games for the Raiders. I mean, if they were, 6-5, would you be shocked? I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, again, maybe they don't, but I wouldn't be shocked. They're 6-5. That might be pretty intriguing.
Yeah, that's the thing about their schedule. That when I started looking at it, I was just like, oh, okay, maybe they'll hang in second place a little bit longer because I'm trying to pull up the Chargers schedule here. I don't think the Chargers schedule gets any better. I mean, they have the Bears and they have the Jets, the Lions, the Packers, Ravens. Those are their next 5 after the Chiefs. So it's Chiefs, Bears, Jets, Lions, Packers, Ravens. It's
similar.
It's similar to what that is. To when you talk about the Chiefs, their next games are after the Chargers. They have Denver again. Should be a win. Got to go on the road, 325 game at Mile High. Tough place to play. In Germany versus Miami, which possibly is for the number 1 seed in Germany. Kind of insane that that Germany's going to have that game, the bye week, but then they have Philadelphia and then the Raiders. So I want to ask you this question. This is obviously a hypothetical question because they can't necessarily technically lock up the division before they play the Raiders on November 26th, but could the Chiefs theoretically have the division comfortably in hand by the time they play the Las Vegas Raiders on November 26th for the first time?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't feel bad, I should say, because that's wrong, because they wouldn't feel bad when the Broncos had their stretch, the Raiders.
For sure.
You know, but it is a little bit like, if you're a fan of those 3 teams, you're just sitting there like, what are we doing? Like, it has been almost a decade now of dominance from Kansas City. We're not really even coming close to sniffing anything. The Broncos haven't won since the Royals won the World Series. I mean, it's absurd, man. I mean, the Chiefs' dominance, I find that as impressive as almost anything than the Super Bowl wins, just the absolute dominance over the AFC and in particular the AFC West.
Yeah.
Like, you don't see this. This is historic. This is unheard of. In Kansas City, again, as you mentioned, realistically going to have this thing wrapped up by Thanksgiving. We'll be giving the thanks to the Kansas City Chiefs hoisting another AFC West title up there, another banner.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man.
It is crazy. And I'm pulling up some stats here from Patrick Mahomes, obviously. He's 28-3 in his career against the AFC West. He's lost 3 divisional games in his career as a starting quarterback. 65% completion percentage, over 8,000 yards, almost over 8,500 yards, over 67 touchdowns, with rushing touchdowns included. He has over 70 touchdowns, total touchdowns. So you're looking at a guy who has played his best football against divisional teams. I even think against the Chargers, he's had some pretty good games himself. I think he had that 400-yard game in 2021, the walk-off touchdown to Travis Kelce in the overtime, which in a game where they led early but didn't get the lead back until they won it in overtime. Shows how impressive that he's been in these games. And I think Travis Kelce had almost 200 receiving yards in that game. So these two guys have had big performances in the times what they needed to. Looking at just his stats, he's 7-2 against the Chargers overall. When it comes to the division. So the other loss coming to the Raiders, obviously the bus, the ring around the rosy, little bus lap that they did. Which, what a weird time thinking about that game now. Is just like, we're just like, what happened in that game?
What in the high school? What in an FCS team beating Georgia? Like what? I was surprised they didn't want to storm the field too. All 12 other fans, right. I mean, what a weird time.
That was a weird time, but that just goes to show you just the dominance that Patrick Mahomes has had against the AFC West. It's quite astonishing when you look at it like numerically.
Yeah, the dominance and what it means when they actually finally beat the Kansas City Chiefs, because they don't expect to beat them. It is like an FCS team beating Georgia or beating Bama. You go in with no shot, and you're like, guys, we might do this. We might pull a Rudy here, throw her jersey. It's silly.
Throw a parade when they beat the
Throw
Chiefs.
a parade. They're going to hang it up. They're going to hang a banner because, quite frankly, what else are they going to hang?
Right. They'll paint a mural of a play that happened in a game that they lost, and then they'll celebrate that for the rest of the season because they'll blow a 29-point lead in the playoffs, and that's the only thing they'll have to celebrate.
And just think, man. The Chiefs are 5-1. Their only loss coming to an NFC opponent by 1 point. The Detroit Lions, who are also, by the way, 5-1, and look very, very good.
Number 1 team in the league right now, by the way.
Yeah, this is it's crazy because the Chiefs haven't even been good offensively. Let's be frank.
Right.
They've had one game where they were good, and the defense is elite. Special teams has been special. They've been really good on special teams. Harrison Butker, he's back. Why I kept telling everyone to pump the bleeping brakes last year on him. Calm down. Let guy get healthy. We've seen him be the second best kicker in the NFL. Let the kicker who's injured on his foot get his foot right. Come on. Pretty important when you're kicking. But again, offensively, I think you're going to see Rashee Rice as the season goes on get a larger snap count share as we've started to see. The words of Kobe Bryant in that one commercial, more. I want to see more. Yeah. That's what I want to see from Rashee Rice, more snaps. We'll see maybe Justin Ross start getting a few more snaps. Maybe Sky Moore actually gets right. Maybe Kadarius Toney finally stays healthy and he gets right. But again, I think there's a lot of reason for optimism for the offense to start to turn around, whilst I do think the defense, special teams, and the rest, this is what we're going to see the rest of the season.
I think so too. Looking around the league, when you look at the AFC, Chiefs obviously on top. Chiefs on top of the AFC after, kind of funny to put this into perspective here, Sterling. Us as Chiefs Kingdom have not been too pleased with how the Chiefs have won these games as of late. When you talk about the Jets game, the most recent game they played against the Broncos, maybe not the most flashy offensive game, kind of getting a little spoiled when it comes to what we expect on offense, but still the number 1 team in the AFC. As I mentioned, the Miami Dolphins, second place in the AFC. Their one loss coming to an AFC team and the Buffalo Bills, which, boy, they exposed their defense a little bit, didn't they? And if the Chiefs can get right on offense, so going into that game against the Dolphins, I feel pretty good about the Chiefs and Dolphins, truthfully, about the Chiefs heading into that matchup.
Yeah, but it's just why I always say you never apologize for winning ugly. I know it's fun to sit here and talk and say they should have beat this team by more, and they're not clicking and all that stuff. You think the Eagles would have taken an ugly win over the Jets?
Yeah.
Do you think they would have preferred to win ugly instead of not winning? Do you think the 49ers would have preferred to win ugly or to lose to the Browns? Again, eventually you want to get right. I get all that stuff. But until November, until Thanksgiving, stack those wins.
Yeah.
Stack those wins. Then you'll start to realize what you have, what you don't have, what you thought you may have had. Maybe you'll see a trade deadline acquisition. But really until Thanksgiving, I'm just a fan of you stack wins. You don't care how you win. You just win.
Yeah. What you got to do. And Sterling, before I let you go, I want to look at if the playoffs started today on October the 17th. Luckily they don't. But if they did start today, the Chiefs would have the number 1 seed in the AFC. The Miami Dolphins would be taking on the Cleveland Browns. The Baltimore Ravens would be taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Jaguars would be taking on the Buffalo Bills. Out of any of those teams I mentioned, Sterling, does any one of those worry you in terms of threats to the Chiefs' reign on the AFC?
Again, any given Sunday, I think the Bills are legitimately still a good team. I know they've been very up, very down. They've been very inconsistent, but the Bills, when they are on, and they've shown they can get on, they are one of the best teams in the NFL when they're on. You just don't know what you're going to get with them. Miami, a little bit the exact same boat, but their defense can be exposed. We will see in Germany. I will say those overseas games, it's really difficult to get a good feel. The Bills lost to the Jags because the Jags were already over there. The Bills came out flat. It's difficult to get a real good feel those overseas games because of the travel differential. I think the Ravens personally are a sleeping giant. The box score doesn't look great, but if you only watch the box score, you're doing yourself a disservice. Watching the Ravens games, they are very close to getting right, especially offensively with Todd Monken. Their defense has been about the second best in the NFL, just behind the Browns and a lot of analytical metrics. Right, the Ravens defense is really good, and they're just getting stalled in the red zone. They're just not quite finishing off drives, which again, maybe you can just chalk that up to that's who they are. But part of me thinks they're getting used to Todd Monken's new offensive scheme. And dude, they are close. They're close to getting right. And when they get right, that's going to be a very dangerous team. But obviously, Lamar Jackson's health always comes into question.
Absolutely. I do think the Ravens are one of those teams where outside of kind of just like a brain fart against the Steelers that Lamar Jackson kind of had on that last drive there that basically gifted the Steelers the win in that game, they would be looking at 5-1. Lamar played really good in that game. I know it's a lot easier for people to be like, oh, well, he had that late turnover right there, which led to them taking the lead. I still think Lamar played really, really good. Lamar's been playing well this year. I think it's been exciting to see Lamar back and playing, and just he's got to stay healthy for those guys. But I think that the Ravens are kind of a sleepy team that the Chiefs are going to have to keep their eye on. Because I'm interested to see how they match up. The way that this Chiefs defense has been playing, I've been pretty confident in, containing Lamar Jackson. But that's a different animal. That's a different animal than any other team that they're kind of been built to beat.
Yeah, but that's Drew Tranquil season, baby. That is Drew Tranquil as a spy on Lamar Jackson. I mean, they got Mark Andrews and Zay Flowers as a nice connection, and Odell Beckham Jr. at times looks like younger version Odell Beckham Jr. They got Rashad Bateman. This is the most talented wide receivers Lamar's ever played with. But again, I think this Chiefs defense is legitimately good. You got Willie Gay Jr. You have a great linebacker core with Leo, Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, and Drew Tranquil. I think you actually have the ability to neutralize Lamar's legs and to an extent neutralize his connection with Mark Andrews. If that's the case, forcing Lamar to throw, good luck. McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed out there. I mean, the Chiefs, I think, do line up very well comparatively to this Ravens team.
That's Sterling Holmes. Appreciate you hanging out with me, Sterling, talking about the AFC kind of as a whole. I really just wanted to talk about the AFC West. I needed somebody to talk to about the AFC West. Had some thoughts I needed to get out about it as the Chiefs seemingly seem to be on their way to an eighth, right? Is that right, Sterling? Check my math there. 8 straight AFC West titles?
Dude, I'm buns at calculus, buns at algebra, bad at math, doesn't matter. 8 straight. I think it's 8. 7 was last year, right?
Yeah. I mean,
you know what's bad? When you start to lose count. When you have won that much, you start to lose count.
Same thing happens with the Broncos. I said, wait, what number? Is it 15? Oh, wait, 16. This is 16. Okay. This one's 16. That makes sense. Next one will be 17. Okay, sounds good. Sounds great. But Sterling, appreciate you joining me as always. As that's going to do it for this today's episode of KCSN Update presented by our friends at DraftKings Sportsbook. Appreciate everybody hanging out, listening in. Let us know what you thought about the show on social. Follow me on Twitter at Tucker D. Franklin. Let us know at KC Sports Network on Twitter as well. So I'll be back again with another episode soon. So until then, we've got all kinds of stuff waiting ready for you at KC Sports Network. Amateur Hours going live on our KCSN YouTube page at 8 p.m. Central Time tonight. All kinds of stuff. So make sure you subscribe. We'll be back soon. And so until then, I'll talk to you later.